You know, when you think about life's great mysteries, you always end up with these iconic, kind of elusive creatures, right?
Yeah.
Like Nessie or maybe Bigfoot.
Yeah, the ones we're not even sure were real to begin with.
Exactly. But today, we're diving into a creature that was, I mean, absolutely real. An extinct icon with a fantastic name, the Tully monster.
And this is a genuine paleontological riddle. Its official name is Tullimonstrum gregarium, and it lived about 300 million years ago. But the thing is, we still have no idea what it actually was.
And that uncertainty, that complete inability to just place it, is the core of our deep dive today. You have scientists whose entire job is to classify life, and they are just, stumped.
It's an epic noodle scratcher. So our mission is to go through the sources, look at its discovery, its bizarre anatomy, and really figure out why this animal, and we have over 100 fossils of it, just continues to break the entire system of biological classification.
Right. So to really get why it's so frustrating, we first have to, build a picture of this thing.
We do. First off, it's not huge. Imagine something maybe the size of your hand up to your forearm. So anywhere from 7 to 38 centimeters long.
And the shape is? Well, the sources describe it as looking like a melted, stretched out football.
That's a great way to put it. Tapered at both ends, soft-bodied, and really, really flexible.
And the anatomy itself just reads like a list of impossible features.
It really does. At the front, it had this long, skinny, flexible trunk, a proboscis.
Okay.
And at the very end of that trunk was a pincer, like a little claw filled with rows of these teeny-weeny teeth. It definitely meant business.
But the truly alien part, I think, has to be the eyes, because they're not on its head.
No. Instead, you have these two rigid stalks that jut out, perpendicular to the body, sideways. And at the end of each stalk, an eyeball.
It's unbelievable. It's the kind of thing you draw as a kid if someone told you to invent a monster, not something that actually swam in our ancient seas.
Exactly. It had this super bendy, sort of Gumby-like body, maybe segmented like a worm. But it wasn't just crawling around. The back end had a tail with these frilly fins on either side.
So that combination, the flexible body and the tail fins, what does that tell us? Was it like a predator?
The consensus is yes. It was almost certainly an active, mobile predator. That long proboscis could dart out and snatch things.
And the eyes on stalks would give it this huge field of vision.
A massive field of vision. It was perfectly equipped to be a little hunter.
And the story of its discovery is just as strange. It was found in 1958 by a local fossil collector, Francis Tully.
Right, in the Mazon fossil beds in Illinois. And the specimens were so weird that the Field Museum just started calling it the Tully monster.
The name says it all, really. It was a monster not because it was scary, but just because it was an anatomical anomaly.
And it seems to be monotypic. That means it's the only species in its genus. As far as we know, it had no close relatives ever.
Which brings us to this idea of the Illinois anomaly. How on earth is it possible that every single fossil of this weird-as-hell creature is found in one tiny corner of the world?
That exclusivity is so critical to the story. They've only ever been found in the Mazon Creek area, mostly exposed by old coal mining operations that cut down into these deep layers of shale.
And the reason for that is all about preservation, isn't it?
It's a preservation miracle, really. We're talking about the late Carboniferous period, 300 million years ago.
North America was covered in these huge swamp forests, which created the coal, but the Tully monster was living in these shallow coastal waters.
And what happened there geologically was incredibly rare. It created what's called a Lagerstätten, basically a site with exceptional preservation.
So, because the Tully monster was soft-bodied, no bones, no shell, it normally would have just vanished.
Instantly. It would decay or get eaten. But in Mazon Creek, when these creatures died, they were buried incredibly quickly by fine sediment.
Ah, so it sealed them off.
It sealed them in these little iron carbonate nodules, protecting them from oxygen and scavengers long enough for an impression to form. It is the only reason we know this animal ever existed.
It's just amazing to think about how much of life's history is lost, simply because the conditions weren't perfect like this.
Absolutely.
And of course, because it's an Illinois exclusive, the state made it their official state fossil back in 1989.
Which is fantastic. But it does mean Illinois is in the slightly awkward spot of having a state fossil that nobody can actually classify.
Exactly. And that leads us straight into the classification crisis. This is where the story really challenges our whole understanding of life.
It does. Because to classify any living thing, scientists rely on a concept called homology. It's the idea that you can group species based on shared structures or genetics that point back to a common ancestor.
Like a bat's wing and a human arm have a similar bone layout, so we know we're related somewhere way back.
Precisely. The Tully monster, though. It's a phylogenetic island. It has little bits and pieces that look like other groups, but never enough to make a solid connection. It just won't fit.
And that's a huge problem for science. It suggests that our whole system, the phyla we use to organize all life, might, what, be incomplete.
It might be. It suggests there could have been entire branches of life that don't fit into our neat little boxes.
So what do? They didn't just give up. They tried to basically shoehorn it into three major groups.
They did. First, they tried Mollusca, the mollusks. That's a huge group, over 85,000 species, everything from clams to squids.
Okay, that sort of makes sense. It's soft-bodied, aquatic.
It does, and there were some similarities to a few obscure mollusk types, but the more they studied it, the more it didn't fit. Those eye stalks, the tail, they just don't exist in mollusks. So Mollusca was out.
So what was next on the list?
Annelida, the segmented worms.
Because the body looked like it was in segments.
Right, visually it made some sense, but again, once they looked closer at the anatomy, the internal structures just didn't line up with what you'd expect from a worm. So the worms were out too.
Which left the big one, the one that includes us, Chordata.
Chordata, yeah. This group includes all vertebrates. To be a chordate, you need a few key things, at least at some point in your life. A notochord, a nerve cord, things like that.
And the idea that this bizarre little monster could be some kind of early cousin to vertebrates? That was a really exciting idea.
It was tantalizing. Some people interpreted a dark line running down the fossil as a primitive backbone or notochord, but it was just an interpretation. There's no way to prove it.
So every attempt just hit a dead end because you're just looking at impressions in mud, essentially.
Exactly. And that's why the entire argument, this whole scientific battle, eventually came to focus on one single bizarre feature.
The stalked eyes.
The stalked eyes. They became the battleground.
And this is where things get really dramatic, especially in the last few years. There was a big breakthrough in 2016, right?
A huge one. A team of researchers published a study saying they'd cracked it. The Tully monster was a chordate, a vertebrate relative.
And their proof was in the eyes.
It was all in the eyes. They argued that the way the eye pigments were arranged, the cells that detect light, was a structure uniquely found in vertebrates.
And for a minute there, it seemed like the mystery was solved. Case closed.
It did, for a brief, shining moment. But then, in 2019, the story took a massive technological turn.
Oh, this is the best part.
A different research team decided to look deeper, not just at the physical structure, but at the chemical composition of the fossilized eyes.
And they did this using a particle accelerator.
Yes, a particle accelerator. They used it to map the elements inside the eye tissue. Specifically, they were looking at the ratio of zinc to copper.
Why those two elements? What's so special about zinc and copper?
Well, they're both crucial for vision in almost all animals, but critically, the ratio of zinc to copper in eye pigments is a really reliable chemical signature. It's fundamentally different in vertebrates compared to invertebrates.
It's like a chemical fingerprint.
A perfect fingerprint. And what did the Tully monster's fingerprint say?
It was an invertebrate.
Decidedly non-vertebrate. The ratio was a clear match for invertebrates. That powerful, objective chemical data it completely undermined the 2016 conclusion. It sent the classification right back to square one.
So here we are. After more than 65 years, hundreds of perfect fossils, and technology ranging from a simple microscope to a particle accelerator, we are no closer to knowing what this thing is.
We're back where we started. It's a real creature, perfectly preserved in this one spot in Illinois with an anatomy that just refuses to fit our system.
It really makes you think about the limits of our knowledge when we're faced with something so utterly unique.
It forces you to ask, is our system wrong? Or not wrong, but incomplete? Does the Tully monster represent some lost branch of life, an entire phylum that existed and then just vanished?
And that's the final thought to leave you with, isn't it? If this one creature, which was only preserved because of a complete geological fluke in one tiny location, if it could exist and break all our rules, how many other biological anomalies, how many other epic noodle scratchers might have lived and died on this planet without ever leaving a single trace? What incredible diversity is just lost to time, forever beyond the reach of the fossil record.